the game is for everyone. And, some people like more the managerial side of it and administration of, okay, I'm helping the team by, filling this role by courting players for the club, and they enjoy it. I think that's fantastic.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things right here, just because I'm trying to think of like helping young, like college coaches, because, and this, Nico, that a lot of times when you get a college gig, you're in an area that might not be as prevalent in the youth game, as if you're in a large city area type of a thing.
Yeah.
So like you're getting a lot of the times, the way a lot of these young assistants, supplement their income is by taking a job at a local youth club that's going to be probably a little bit more grassroots like this. And again, it itself provides a challenge, because you're not dealing with cream of the crop type youth players. You're dealing with a lot of very foundational youth players, where the expectations are a little bit different. I think one of the things is I just want to make sure that whenever we do content, it's not just for the high level coaches who are in high level environments out there, because there's so many people out there that can benefit from, these types of little tricks and tips that, that you're giving out there. And I just don't want people to be like, yeah, but he's at Barca residency, so that works for him. What do I do? If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I think that's another big part of the development or the difference between college and youth is I see kind of both sides of it.
Yeah.
So for, a coach to transition the brain from college coaching to youth coaching, it's understanding what each one is individually, not just having your one set way of things, but how you can be flexible. And, the players out there of, if they're a college player, a youth player, of having to understand that, okay, this coach's brain might still be in this area for a minute because they're thinking about the training last night or what happened. So I think there's more to it, in the sense of, just compartmentalizing what area you're working in.
You said that a lot better than me. You didn't get tongue twisted there, so
I stuttered there for a second so I could figure out the process of it. But
I just want to talk about really quickly about the brain, because I know we're starting to run long here on time here. But like, one thing I love about this here is you breaking down the understanding of the brain of the player. And when I'm thinking about the youth player, like, when you get a college player, like, the way their brain works is probably the way their brain's going to work for the rest of their lives. Like that's just how they're wired. Now, do you think you can change the way that a youth player is wired, or do you think you have to understand how they think and then deal with it that way?
I mean, in the youth game, you have to understand the way the player thinks, kind of also their background. And I think it's very different being at a residency academy compared to a local club. Here, everyone is on campus, so it's a more controlled environment compared to, a local club. Okay, they have family members, they have friends. Who's telling them what? Their friend comes to the game and they're like, oh, what was this? Why'd you do that? What voices are they hearing? Because the voices and the feedback, especially adolescents, that they hear, kind of creates a presence in their mind of questioning, oh, why am I doing this, instead of, okay, what can I take in from this? So big part of it is what voices are they hearing and what are they hearing, I think, is a big part to that development.
By the way, is somebody screaming in the background over you? Is somebody okay? Did somebody step on a nail? What's going on?
No, they're all good. They're in the PC area here. Looks like they're playing soccer tennis, so it's going to be
competitive. Gotcha. Okay. They're kids having fun, like in the focus of youth development, right over here. Okay. I was like, is there a haunted house taking place behind you? What is going on back there? I like the fact that you put in youth development here, biological age versus actual age, because again, at the college level, chances are those probably match up, but at the when adolescent level, those might not match up at all. You might have a 12-year-old that is biologically 18, and you might have another 12-year-old that's biologically 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that at the youth game, it's a big part of observing that area to kind of see, okay, where they might go with it. I've had a goalkeeper in the Baltimore area, and she's always been tall. I think she's like 6'2" or 6'3" now as a 14, 15-year old. So it's kind of understanding that, because that affects the training as well. What coordination do they have? How fast have they grown in this period of time? Because that technique is going to change. Of they've grown 6 inches in a year. Okay, I can't just have a light step to the side. I have to have more of a push, or I have to kick out a little bit to get to this low ball now because of my height. I think that the height affects their actions a little bit, and how you can continually develop that technique with how they're growing.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point in regards to like developing the technique as they're growing, as opposed to, you know, developing technique based on where they are today. I think that's extremely massive, and I think that's where like the results issue comes into play when you're talking about the youth game. Is that like especially at the grassroots level, like, you know, a lot of outfield coaches, team coaches, you utilize the goalkeeper as an accessory for success for their team, as opposed to the actual development of that goalkeeper. And again, at the college level, they are an accessory to the success of the team.
Mhm.
At the youth level, they're not, it's about their individual development, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for me as well, it's more about their development than it is about winning. You can win quick, and have you won the local tournament this weekend. Fantastic, you won it with the U8 team. What are you teaching them? Who are they going to be next year? What foundation of the game are you leaving them with? That's my big question. And for me, my biggest investment and my best interest with players of that age is trying to have them enjoy the game, have them love the game, and teach them it properly, not just kick, run, shoot, and hope for the best. It's okay. How are we going to play? Why are we going to play like this? And trying to have them think for themselves.
Yeah, I love that what you're saying in regards to adolescent development. And again, this is something that if this is stressed at the youth levels, once they get to a college coach, they don't have to spend all their time on this, is the pushing the level of cognitive decision making. When I talk to so many, and this because you've been a college coach, when I talk to so many college coaches, they say, everyone at these everyone at these showcases can catch a ball, can strike a ball, can move their feet, and yada yada, and play a side volley, and yada yada. Where they all struggle is the decision making aspect, and recognizing the scenario, and appropriate actions for those scenarios. So how do we develop these at the adolescent level so that is not something you even have to worry about once you get to the college level?
Yeah, I mean, a big part of that is, exposing them to kind of situational training, but also live training, and, very unannounced movements and actions. How can I deal with it? I'm not telling you what's going to happen, but the ball's going to be played in. Are you be more focused on the person and the player, or more ball oriented? So I think to be a goalkeeper, you have to see the person, but be oriented on the ball, and then be able to make the decision at the appropriate time of, okay, I'm going to go for it, or I'm going to sit back. I got to call away and drop back to my line, or okay, I can close them down in a 1v1.
Yeah. By the way, man, we're like an hour plus in, and like
Yeah.
we've just scratched the surface, dude. I feel like we could keep going for like another 3 hours, but I know that you've got a lot going on right now. So do you want to share some of these session designs, or do you feel like the audience has gotten enough? Like what are your thoughts? How are you doing on time?
I mean, I'm doing okay. I still got let me see what time is. Yeah, I got a bit of time left. If you want to put the 2 sessions I sent you up, you're more than welcome to.
All right, so this is session 1 that you got right here. So now this is kind of a way to kind of paint that picture based on all the methodology and the conceptual stuff that we've talked about, on the show today. What is this session, and how does this kind of come into play with what you've been talking about in the youth development?
Yeah, so this is a cutback session. So it's finding the basic handling and that sense of touch to start. Through different actions of catching, turning, different textured balls coming in, whether it's a volley to hands, basket catch, ball from the ground, and watching that leg load into the ball coming to you. So that's kind of the first part of the session. The second part, okay, just live, not live, announced actions of, okay, this is the ball coming in, this is how it's going to come in, deal with it, and then find a way to play out. So it's going to be getting the ball, switching the field, and then dropping back for a cutback. So finding the action of being in possession. Okay.
What's up, dude? Can you hear me?
Yes. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Is Sharpe joining us too?
Yes, I believe. I don't know where.
Look at that. Literally, as I said that, he pops up. Look at there, Sharpe. You might want to move your up. There we go.
Sorry, guys. Just got out of
no worries, man. All good. We'll get this.
Look at those yellow walls, ads.
Amazing. All right, let's get this going. Here we go. Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from Hollywood, California. With me, no 99 World Cup winner, Saskia Weber, because we are getting into the NWSL playoffs after the international break, and she is pretty thick into that right now. Unfortunately, Angel City did not make the playoffs. That's a controversial thing going on out there. And speaking of playoffs, we got another group of guys that are in the playoffs right now. We got Colorado Rapids goalkeeping director Chris Sharpe and goalkeeper for the Colorado Rapids, Adam Beaudry, joining us once more. What's up, guys?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited for this because it was actually really, really funny, Adam, is actually your guys' communications people reached out and they said, hey, you guys were on earlier on during the year when Adam was beginning his journey with the first team and everything like that. And I don't know if you know this, but he got a great start on decision day, and we thought it'd be a great follow-up. And I said, if Adam's willing to give his time, since he's big time now,
Far from it.
So Adam, first off, before we kind of get into the topic and everything like that, why don't you kind of catch up everybody to what's been going on with you? I know you've had U.S. Youth National Team time. You've been with the first team. Obviously, you had Rapids too, a lot of reps with them. Kind of catch everybody up.
Yeah, it's been a hectic year, but obviously we're at the end of the year now, postseason and playoffs. But yeah, I was able to make my debut against Austin on decision day, and then been with the national team throughout the year also. We had CONCACAF in the summer, and had a couple other camps with some friendlies in there. And then obviously been playing with the second team when I can throughout the season.
Sharpe, obviously we talked about that earlier in regards to like kind of that give and take in regards to making sure that he gets reps, but he's also involved in the first team environment as much as possible. Like, did you feel like that was smooth this season?
Yeah, I wouldn't say smooth because obviously Adam's our number 2 now, behind Zach. So trying to find the balance between us being away, the Rapids 2 team being away, or us being at home, the Rapids 2 team being at home, that allows us, or Adam, to have a game on the Sunday. It is not as easy as you would think, obviously because the schedules aren't aligned. So, Adam's got a few games here and there. Obviously, he's played the majority of the U19s games for the national team this year, which has been a help as well, just to kind of keep him ticking over, as well as obviously represent his country and, qualify for the World Cup for next year too. But it's, I'm sure as every goalkeeper coach knows in the league, it's not as easy as you would have liked or streamlined as you would like to, get those games, because the schedules don't really align. So it's finding the moments, or the right moments, to keep him ticking over, and then giving him the minutes when we can to make sure he's getting minutes as well.
Yeah. And by the way, Adam, feel free to step in anytime, or Sharpe, you can step in on Adam and everything like that. But Adam, I was just kind of thinking about that, from Sharpe's words in regards to that, I would think from you, it's even more of a challenge, because of the mental standpoint of having to switch gears from being, for lack of a better term, a leader out there, to somebody that's more in a developmental position when you're with the first team.
Yeah, but that's the culture we have, especially with this the goalkeeping group here, and Sharpe's had it throughout the academy, and it's a leadership position. So no matter the level, you have to step in and kind of and then show that and command the people around you and help them, and it's all in just helping others, and kind of being that guy of holding a standard, and like I said, just helping people around you, and you can't do that without the communication piece, and having a presence, and having the trust and relationships you have that you build on and off the field with the guys, and we're with each other so much. You start to build that throughout the season. So by the time the Austin game came around, we're so close, and we know each other, and our tendencies, and what we like and what we don't. So we had that trust by then, and but yeah, throughout the weeks of training, it's all kind of building that trust and relationships.
Kind of before we get into the topic, Sharpe, which, by the way, for you guys who don't know, it's going to be preparing a goalkeeper for his first team debut. And I'm really, really excited to check out all the match actions and also the session designs and everything. But Sharpe, what was the kind of the plan for Adam at the beginning of the season with his IDP, and then kind of where he was based on, in October, the decision to make him start?
Yeah, I think, look, it's always, as far as Adam is concerned, he's 17 starting the year. He's now 18 years old, and it's developed all facets of the game. That's, people talk about IDPs, 3-4 things. At 17 years old, you want to develop everything. It doesn't matter with or without the ball. There is a broad spectrum of what you want to develop. But again, trying to find games, obviously Adam, we made the decision early in the year that Adam is going to be our number 2. So it is difficult in MLS to find minutes when you are the number 2. And obviously behind a class goalkeeper in Zach as well. The minutes are going to be less for whatever reason. Zach with the national team, minutes arise, XYZ. But I think for us, it's trying to find Adam. The IDP now for Adam is to get games. He needs games. That he needs to have minutes. And like I said, obviously the national team has filled a lot of those minutes for him this year because they had a lot of competition. But again, trying to holistically improve his game in every facet, whether it's on the field, in the video room, it doesn't, it doesn't matter to us. But again, at the beginning of the season, yes, we identified 3 or 4 things in our profile of the goalkeeper, in the way that we want to play, in the style of play that we want to improve. But for Adam at his age, such a young age, starting the year, just trying to holistically improve every little piece, 1% every day, to get to a point that, you lead to a opportunity to play a game in MLS. And like he just said, he's ready.
Yeah. I mean, I can see he's got the 5 o'clock shadow now and everything. He's not 17, he's 18. So he's a grizzled man right now. Have you still been growing too, Adam? Jeez.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Trying.
I want to ask you though, because one of the tough things for you is the fact that youth national team windows don't fall in with senior team international windows, and the league continues to go. So what is that, that decision making, and go hey, I'm going to go with the youth national team. I know I'm the number 2, but I this is important for me. Like, is that a conversation you have with Sharpe? Is that a conversation that you have with the U.S. Youth National Team? Like, how does that work?
I'll jump in here, Ads. It's
Okay.
a non-negotiable for me.
Okay.
You represent your country.
Okay.
So unless we are guaranteeing that he is going to be playing the game or games in the first team, representing your country is is super important to me, to our club, and to obviously the individual as well.
I mean, that's awesome to hear, because I know, Adam, that there's obviously guys that wanted to play with you all, whose clubs for whatever reason decided not to release them, and that's got to be challenging, for all of you.
Yeah, and it's also credit to the Rapids too for allowing me to do these things. And I know I have good relationships with players all around, and there's definitely a lot of them that don't get to have those opportunities, and whether that be with their spot in the club that they're with, but luckily here they allow me to go do these things, and yeah, it's something that I take a lot of pride in, and it's also giving me some great experiences in games.
Yeah, and I would think just the overall competition of playing overseas and the travel and dealing with a different environment and everything like that. Sharpe is just so monumental for the development of a young professional to keep going and keep getting exposed, to different types of players. Let's say that they may not be seeing, in this league that are around their same age group. I think one of the cool things about it is, in regards to saying, and it's awesome that you say, they can go off on international duty to represent their country, but you have such a quality goalkeeping environment and community there at the Colorado Rapids that it's a kind of a next man up type situation, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're fortunate enough at this club to have obviously three of our top four boys in national teams. Obviously Zach with a full national team, Adam with the 20s, and then young Zach Campagnolo with the 18s now. And it is that we had a situation 2 months ago where we were looking at having one goalkeeper training for 2 weeks, based on the fact that the three boys are going to be away with their national team. So, I mean, credit to the club, credit to the goalkeeper staff here at the club, credit to the goalkeepers at the club, But again, for me, like Ad said, it's prideful for these boys to go and represent their country. And unless in Adam's situation, unless Adam is starting an MLS game because he's away or whatever else, it's prevalent for us, for these boys to go and represent their country. Even if you say it's outside of an international window, we have MLS games. I mean, Ads are missed 2 of the Leagues Cup games, Ads, because you're away with the 20s. Yeah, or 3 of them, whatever it was. But obviously, Leagues Cup's not MLS games, but they're obviously important competitions to our football club. But it's important.
Well, and then that's also a time that where a lot of reserve goalkeepers get minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
In the league.
Yeah, and obviously Ads is away with the World Cup team for the 20s, so that's important to us too, and important to him, and important to be part of the group and qualify for the World Cup so they can prepare accordingly for 2025.
Yeah. So the United States can win the U20 World Cup. We want it to happen, right? We want that to happen. Let's get into the topic, because I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to start throwing out some of these images in here. First off, for people who kind of aren't familiar what we're referring to, Sharpe, what do we mean kind of by like preparing a goalkeeper for their first team start?
Yeah, I think there's a lot goes into it, both emotionally and physically. Adam didn't have a normal week, to be fair, leading into the week. Adam flew back from Europe on the Wednesday for a Saturday game. He'd been away for the 5 days previous to that. So he came back in a late evening flight on Wednesday, trained Thursday, Friday, and then traveled Friday and played Saturday. Obviously, Zach was away with the national team. Unfortunately, he sustained a minor injury that we felt was better for us to hold him out against Austin, to make sure he was fully fit for the playoff run, and obviously give Adam an opportunity. But I think, again, for me, I don't put a lot of emphasis on getting him ready in the 5 days prior to the game or the 4 days. He's trained all year with the group, like Adam just said. I would be doing him a disservice if I changed everything because he's starting this week, and he's he's been through 33 league games plus 7, Leagues Cup games. But again, as you can see, even from the work here, we're looking at spaces, positions that Austin like to get into, a lot of cutbacks, a lot of crosses, a lot of reaction work, that just preparing Adam and the goalkeepers in the right way, or the way what we feel they're going to be seeing a lot of potentially in the 90 minutes against Austin. So again, and then really not changing anything verbally or emotionally. Adam and I spoke a lot on Thursday and Friday. Even early in the week when we made the decision, he was in Europe. That look, just concentrate on what you're doing. Don't think too much about the weekend. We will prepare you with video and everything that we need to do for the weekend.
Adam, I'm curious just in regards from we're talking about the emotional standpoint and everything like that. Did it feel any different for you preparing for this start with the first team than it did, preparing for a Rapids 2 match or a Youth International or anything like that?
No,
Nope.
I prepare the same way for every game. If I'm not playing, I prepare to the best of my ability for every single game I'm a part of, and it's something I've been able to kind of create a routine through all those experiences with the second team and the national team, and it's kind of something I've been able to build up, and I'm something I can rely on now with these types of games, especially like in CONCACAF, as games got more with more pressure and just being in an environment like that. It's something that I can rely on, and that's just my preparation and keeping it the same and something that I trust.
Yeah, and I think that that kind of leads to Sharpe, you having a good relationship with the Rapids 2 and the U.S. Youth National Team coaches in regards to that, to making sure that nothing is rocking the boat, so to speak, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just again, you're talking to a very diligent young man here who, like you said, he prepares every game that we go into like he is playing. We go out early every game, so he gets a full warm-up in just to make sure that if something does go awry in the warm-up, he's prepared. But he goes through the same match day -1 every week that we prepare Zach for starting, obviously. We altered it slightly for Adam's game because obviously every goalkeeper likes something a bit different. But again, it's I think there you talk about preparation for Adam for making his debut. If you start to change things, you start to create anxiety, and it doesn't become clear for them. So no changing for them. I mean, we've been working towards this for 3.5 years now, Ads, and I think that's it's a credit to him, and he stays healthy, he stays fit, he stays ready, and like you said, he's earned the trust of the lads in every training session this year. Ready to go and do his thing. So yeah, there was no change in now. Really, we only had 2 days of preparation because Ads wasn't here for the first part of the week. So,
it's funny that you said that, because Adam, because I can't tell you, how many times, and I think this is good for youth coaches to hear, like college coaches to hear, when they try to make something seem special or more important than the average match or anything like that. And I'm sure you went through this experience, when you were a younger player or whatever, where that kind of adds the anxiety because you're like, oh, am I supposed to be doing something different? Like, I didn't even think about how important this is. Now I'm kind of nervous about it because I was just going to kind of do my thing.
Yeah, it's almost, if you change your mentality, it kind of changes the way you play. And the way I like to think about it is you're in that situation to be you. You're not in that situation to be anyone else, and to be the perfect goalkeeper. You're in that situation to be yourself, and the only way to be yourself is to do the things that you've been doing all year and the things that you trust.
Yeah, man, I mean, like Sharpe, just from on a coaching standpoint, I just can't. I'm just, as we all keep growing as coaches. I remember when I was a younger coach, I think I've made that mistake. I think I made the mistake of talking to a number 2 and saying like, oh man, it's like, I know you weren't expecting to play in this match on Friday, man, but we really need you to come up for this. And then next thing I know, I'm putting this undue pressure that I wouldn't have put on the number 1.
Yeah.
because I never would have said that to them because they'd been playing all the reps throughout the season.
Yeah, I think too. Look, we in our environment we talk a lot about overthinking things. Even from myself, we look at things, we try and break things down. I'm someone who puts a lot of thought into our preparation as far as our training sessions are concerned, and I even sometimes from a goalkeeper coaching's point, you can overthink things to try and get too much out of it, rather than simplify it and make it very clear. The picture clear for the boys, but. I think one of the last things I said to Adam pre-game warm-up was, look, you've worked all your life for this. Just go out and be your 5, 6, 7-year-old self. Play free. Enjoy yourself. Like you're that young again. There is no pressure. Just go out and do what you do. Enjoy what you've done for the last 3 years in this environment. And congratulations, mate, because you're about to make your first team debut. For me,
I would have loved to see those U7 games with Adam. People must have been like, why is that 13-year-old out there with them in the pug bowl?
Yeah. So I think, look, and again too, Mike, you're right. It's the learning environment that we've been in. Like, this obviously isn't my first time doing this. We've had Abe, another homegrown goalkeeper, make his debut end of last year. So, you learn from your experiences as a coach as well. But every human is different. Adams is very different to Zach. Zach's very different to Abraham was. Adam's different to Abraham. Everyone wants something different. Adam wanted to keep his week exactly the same. He didn't want to change anything. Great. I give them the autonomy to add hey, what do you want? No, just keep it the same. Great. No problems at all. As you can see from the video clips that are on here now, a lot of crosses in the game for Adam, a lot of cutback scenarios, a lot of second ball scenarios. I mean, Ads didn't have a ton of work to do in the game, but what he did well. And, no doubt he wanted the second and third goal back for sure, but this is part of the learning environment. We were barely, the seatbelt sign was barely off on the plane, and Ads are sitting next to me on the plane and we're watching the video, 2 hours after the whistle went. So again, learning, we're learning all the time. He's learning, I'm learning, Zach's learning, and we're continuing to try and put this together so these boys are in the best position every week they can be.
It's interesting that you said that, because like you said, it didn't have a whole lot to do, but and we'll watch the match actions later, but a lot of it was preparing for these match actions, preventative goalkeeping, which is the topic that the Keeper Institute podcast is this week on our podcast network, on the Union Network. If you guys don't know it, uniongk.com to find out more. But it really is about preventative goalkeeping, right, Adam? So it's like you're putting yourself in good positions so that if you have to perform that match action, you can. And if you don't have to, you've put yourself in that position so that it never had to happen.
Yeah, it's a lot of positioning, organizing, scanning. It's kind of it's constant focus as the ball gets closer and closer to you, and it all comes. And the saves that you make all comes from the positioning that you have in those spots. And I know the last two, I would say we talked about it a lot, was if I would have been in that right spot, settled, stopped, I think I make the save for both of them. So that just goes with how important the positioning is, and just being settled and trusting your reactions.
Sharpe, I want to talk about this though, because you talk about the autonomy and asking the goalkeeper, do they want anything different this week? Understanding that their role is going to be different come the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, because it showcases that you're there for them. They're not there for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that a lot of young goalkeepers don't feel. I feel a lot of young goalkeepers feel like they're there to facilitate the coaches and the team, as opposed to the other way around.
Pretty simple, Mike. If these boys aren't here, I don't have a job. So it's me trying to put them in a position to succeed. Look, at the end of the day, it's like a coaching staff. If you put the players in a position to be successful and they are successful, you will have a job. Fortunately, I've got a group of boys that are hardworking individuals that want to succeed. My job is just to prepare them in the best possible way for them to succeed. And look, there's a lot of trust within the group, that we're always looking at things together. Like Ads just said there, I think too that, we look back at some things from the Austin game, and, how do we train it during the week to make it better? How do we train it during the week to make it a little bit more instinctual? Things are coming quicker in MLS games than ads has ever been used to before. It's going to be quicker than any U20 national team game. That's just physics of playing against men. But these boys just trusting that I'm putting them in the best scenarios, that we're looking at these scenarios together, that we're all on the same page when it comes to what we're looking for in the profile and how we're executing these moments. And then how can we make these moments better? I mean, looking at the 2 goals that we conceded late in the game, both from crosses, Adza would have liked to settle his feet a little bit quicker and not get to what we sort of call the perfect position and be in a good settled position a little bit higher. And no doubt he would have made both the saves. But again, like the first thing I said to him on the plane, mate, this is one of 600 professional games that you're going to play. I guarantee it. And it's a learning point for us. He made some very good decisions during the game, both with his feet and in the game moments itself. But again, you can see from what we've done in the couple of days that I had as prior to the session, I was in the sessions prior to the game, that the actions in the game were very, very similar to what we'd worked on. High crossing areas, deep crossing areas. These are the moments we thought were going to change the game, and they were ultimately.
Yeah.
Man, 600 games, man. I was just like, he's going to be the Tom Brady of goalkeeping. He's 46 years old, still out there, putting it together. I want to talk about this, Adam, because in regards to you saying oh, I want things to be the same. Why was that for you important? Why are you somebody that routine is important to you and you like to keep the same routine, and that anything that adjusts that makes you feel less comfortable? I don't want to say uncomfortable, but less comfortable.
No, I think it was just it's like what we said before. It's if you go on with a different mentality towards the game, it changes the way you think about it and maybe the way you play. So for me, I would much rather prepare the way that we prepare every week. The first 2 days are more like Sharpe said, we look at Austin and what their tendencies are, and we see that in training. And that week it was a lot of crosses and cutbacks, and then the match day -1 is very similar to every game, and it's just about timing and getting in those right spots. But yeah, for me, I'm obviously a big routine guy, and for me, the way I prepare, it's always the same way. And then on the training ground, it's whatever Sharpe has planned for us and what he thinks we'll see on the weekend.
Yeah, it's funny you said routine, and you guys are continuing the same routine. It's Halloween right now. I expected you guys to come in costumes. None of that's going on. It's all business here. It's all professional.
If I wore anything other than this, would be a costume for me.
Oh man. I want to talk about the variables, right? Like Sharpe, when you talk to, a young goalkeeper who's going into their first match in that type of a setting, do you talk about any of the variables that might be different than what they're accustomed to?
Yeah, I mean, again, I go back to you just don't want to over inform someone. You just don't want to put too much into their mind where they're overthinking everything. I mean, we talk a lot about overthinking things. I mean, we've faced. Look, let's take this last 7 days, 10 days. We faced a very, very good LA Galaxy team who are very dangerous in transition, have a lot of options in the box. Jovalic, Royce, Peck, Pansel, Puig. It's, they've put us being goalkeepers in the position in the last, 7 days. And in the 3 games we played in this year where, we're in positions where we have a lot of time prior to the final action to overthink things, where the last 3 days we've completely worked on putting ourselves in these situations where there is time to overthink, but just relying on our settled positions, our instincts, hand shape, body shape, whatever it comes into the spaces. But, I think to answer your question, Mikey, no, I don't want to talk too much about variables, especially in Adam's situation, because I don't want to put too much into his head. I just want him to go out there and trust what he's been working on all year, trust what we've been working on as a goalkeeper group all year, trust our style of play, and that the profile of the goalkeeper that we are putting together at this football club is going to be, well enough equipped to deal with whatever the game throws at him in the variability of what the game does. and look, there's enough video these days, Mikey, and obviously we do our homework extensively on the opposition, but the variability is very rare within what teams are or are not going to do in a game. Like Austin was exactly what we thought they were going to do. There wasn't much different to what we thought was going to. LA Galaxy have been exactly the same in the 3 games we played them this year. Whether they're different tomorrow night because they're looking for a different change-up, we will see. But I feel we have prepared the goalkeepers this week the best way we can to make sure that they are ready for what we know they will throw at us and anything else that may come within their system. If there's a system change, if there's a personnel change, whatever that looks like.
In regards to like the variables and everything like that, like, so let's not talk about like, preparing for these variables, but Adam, was there anything just speaking freely, like that you experienced during that game against Austin that either you didn't expect from an intangible standpoint, maybe the atmosphere, maybe how you felt emotionally or anything like that, that's going to better prepare you for your next first team match?
I would just say the atmosphere and things like that. For me, I had a kind of nervous expectation. I wasn't sure what it was going to feel like, and it was almost a calming factor for me. Helped me focus in, and like Sharpe said, the overthinking and the thoughts that you have. For me, it helped me focus in that present moment, and that for me was a little bit of a surprise because I wasn't sure what it was going to be like, and with an atmosphere like that. But it relaxed me and really helped me focus.
I think one of those things, Sharpe, how you talk about obviously the difficulty of when you have a goalkeeper that's splitting time and you consider they're your number 2, but you also want them to get reps. If Adam had just been with Rapids 2 the entire season, he wouldn't have been as familiar of the environments that he'd be going into, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I think too, this is part of the systems you put together at the club. I would never put unless it was absolute dire straits. We were 3 goalkeepers down, and young Zach was the next man up. But I don't think we'd ever put a goalkeeper in a situation, or a player for that matter, in a situation where they don't know the style of play. They don't know the expectations of the goalkeeper within our style of play. They're not familiar with what we're asking of the goalkeeper. It just wouldn't be fair on them. We have quite often 4 of the boys training with us on a daily basis, and that obviously too, young Zach has to prepare for his games for Rapids too, also, all the 18s, wherever he's playing on the weekend. But they will often see Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and sometimes Thursdays with us during the week, so they are getting up to speed and becoming familiar with what the boss is asking in the first team environment as well. And it can be slightly different in the second team. Their style of play can be slightly different, obviously based on personnel too, whether we're giving them players for the Sunday game or they're going with all the R2 boys and some of the academy mixed lads, which is obviously wonderful for those goalkeepers because you're getting a nice mixture of guys and you have to manage certain pots of people. But again, for me, if we felt that one of the boys was going to be or has a chance of playing with us, they need to be in that environment and feeling the pressure of the experienced players around them, the Georgies, the Maxus, the Reggie Cannons, the Keegan Rosenberries, these types of guys, and making sure that they've got a nice sense and a nice feeling for those. And obviously that those boys trust what's behind them as well, which obviously seeing Adam and being with Adza all year, they very much do.
So let's kind of get back to these training sessions and everything like that right here. Adam, just out of curiosity, did your reps change at all during the week, or were they about the same?
What do you mean?
As in, like, were you
like number of reps?
See more, number of reps. Did you see more reps than you usually do when you're not going to be starting, or is it the same amount?
It's all based on loading and what I'll see, but I think the biggest thing for us was making sure I feel good and going into the game. So we might have cut down a little bit, just so I'm feeling good physically and nice and explosive and light going into the game. But yeah, it is pretty similar.
Sharpe, is that on an individual basis, or is that kind of flat across the board?
Ad's had a little bit of an interesting week. So, he had a couple of very long flights to Europe that, I just wanted to make sure that he, more than anything else, was physically feeling good come Saturday. we did cut down a little bit on the reps on the Thursday because ads didn't land until 4:00 on the Wednesday night. But again, I'm a big person for the pod. I'm a big person for the data. And like Ad said, the loading, I'm very upfront with the boys on their loading and where they are and the live data that we have at the training sessions. But I'm also very, very big on the feel of the guys. I will ask them to a point where they probably, get sick of me during the session. But in Adam's situation, like, Ads, how you feel? Feel all right? Yep. Legs are good. Yep. No, I'm heavy. Yep. Whatever it is. I just need to know I'm that person who wants that feel. If at any point I feel like I can see that they're lagging a little bit, done. Perfect. No problems at all. And I think, again, that goes back to the beginning of the conversation. That's the trust that I have with the guys and they have with me. But, we're fortunate enough to have the live data, and I know exactly where I want the boys on any given day. It's all premeditated. And obviously if they are not playing on the weekend, the 2 and the 3, I can afford to give them a little bit more throughout the week. And sometimes we adjust. And look, sometimes for Zach and Ads and Ethan, like Zach will go, no, I want one more. Give me one more. It's a feel for him. And yep, no problems, the extra one. But, on that Thursday leading into Adam's game, we prescribed a little bit less for him. I think he may have taken one extra rep of the 2 ball at the end just because he wanted one more rep to see it again. But, there also comes a point where myself as a coach, I have to stop it and say, yep, you're done. You're out. That's my role and responsibility to make sure these guys are in the best position for themselves too.
Yeah. And kind of getting back to kind of some of these sessions here, if we're getting back to here or everything like that, like Adam, when you had the discussion, when you found out that you were going to be starting, were there any specific things? Like, I know you said you wanted to keep the same routine and everything like that, but were there certain areas that you said, personally, I want to focus on these things to prepare myself for that match on decision day? Or, I mean, obviously you trust Sharpe and you trust, the scouting of Austin and everything, but from a personal standpoint, was there anything you were like, oh, I really want to make sure that I'm in tune with this?
I would say it, like you said, is trusting Sharpe and what he thought would I would see on the weekend, and training those things throughout the weekend. But I feel like the biggest thing for me was getting the timing right, feeling good, physically and mentally, just going in feeling sharp, clear decisions on everything, and yeah, just a feel good sessions, just going in and making sure all the timing and everything's just nice and clean.
Yeah, I love what you said right there, Adam. And it's like, Sharpe, I think this is something to really share with a lot of young coaches out there, is that make those goalkeepers feel confident going into that match. As opposed to if this was 4 months earlier and they're not playing, it could be different coaching behaviors. But that week is about making sure that they feel comfortable for that match.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, look, as you get, for myself, as you get more experience, you get older, you realize, certain sessions are going to create success. Certain sessions are going to create failure. Do you want success? Do you want failure? Do you want a little bit of both throughout the day? Are you able within the session to adjust if you are getting too much success, or it's too simplified, or it's too complicated and you need to simplify it? Do you have adjustments within your session you can make on the fly that offer those for the guys? I felt because of Adam's week leading into it that we needed a session on the match day -2 that would offer him what Austin were going to show us, but also allow him to have success both physically and mentally. Yesterday we've had 3 days to prepare for LA Galaxy this week, obviously because we're playing tomorrow night a day earlier. But Adam said something to us yesterday as a group when we were coming together at the end of the session. He said, I love this because we're seeing the ball fly past us. We're seeing goals scored on us. We're feeling that little bit of emotion, that physical touch, the desire to want to make more saves or keep the ball at the back of the net in very vulnerable scenarios, in scenarios that you've probably got a 50-50 chance of saving. Now, what does our positioning and our body shape, our hand shape, our timing, how do we tip the scales in our favor? But adds up, correct me if I'm wrong, was the first thing you said in the session yesterday is I love this because I've just conceded X amount of goals, but now it gives me something tangible to grab onto when we're watching the video and go, okay, this is what we need.
Learning.
I'm successful,
See, I love what you said right there, because like, and Adam, I mean, credit to you. I mean, you are the most mature 18-year-old I think I've ever met in my life. I think you're more mature than I am, as I'm going to a Halloween party after this. But I want to say this, that like you saying, because I think a lot of young goalkeepers, they kind of don't look forward to, and obviously I'm not saying you look forward to getting scored on, but you do look forward to the learning of getting scored on in those environments and in those situations, because you feel like it's only going to make you a better goalkeeper later on. So you're not focusing on the negatives of that as much as you're focusing on the positives of the fact that you had that experience.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at today, like I see shots flying by me and they're going into net. Obviously, I get frustrated because I hate conceding goals, but it's that mentality of how can I change things to start, like Sharpe said, tipping the scale to the goalkeeper's way, and start making saves in those hard scenarios. But yeah, it's when you see the ball fly in the back of the net, it's definitely a clear reminder of how can I change things, and being able to learn from it, and because you don't always get that when you're making saves and everything's nice and easy, and it's not always that way, and so it's nice sometimes to get those learning experiences, and they really help you keep growing and keep pushing, so you can keep expanding your range and making more saves.
And that's such a great point, and Sharpe, obviously, you want a goalkeeper to be confident going into their first starting match and everything like that. But like throughout the development of the goalkeeper, especially a young professional, you need to make sure that you're putting them in places where they're uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think, look, that we've had a pretty big learning curve this year. When I say we, myself, Adam, and Zach, the three of us together, these two boys have been thrust into the national teams with coaching changes. With, Adam's had some experiences in Europe that have given the two guys very different methodology outlooks within the goalkeeper structure. And we've had a lot of discussion on, the club versus country balance of what's being asked at club. Obviously, your day in, day out, the profile, the style of play, how the goalkeeper fits that style of play. And then obviously what's been asked when you're at the national team. How do we kind of merge it a little bit and make them feel comfortable on both sides of the scale? But also, too, it is having the mentality to be able to flip from one to the other a little bit more so. And then obviously, again, for me, now putting the desired sessions together where they are getting a little bit of both. Obviously, we're at club football here, and we have a style and a methodology that we're trying to achieve within the profile of what we're looking to achieve with the goalkeeper, but giving these guys opportunities to feel comfortable with what they're going to see within the national team environments as well. So when they go in there, it's not just a bang 2-week session, 2 games, and then they're gone. They actually go in there feeling comfort, that there's some physical implements of it, there's some depth and height, and their methodologies within what they're going to want to see as well. So it's been for us, it's been a good learning curve this year. And Adam's experienced a couple of different things this year too, which has been a massive experience for him, and hopefully many more to come. But yeah, I think, mate, holistically, it is just trying to, learn, develop, create those moments for these boys to continually to learn and for us to look at, to learn as well.
Yeah. So I want to go to some of these match actions. Let's see if I can start at the beginning of all these match actions. I think it's like right after these training sessions right here. And I kind of want to break these down. And as again, like you said, not a lot of action, but a lot of good things in regards to starting positions, movement, tracking, scanning, all that sort of stuff. So once we're done with these, I think this might be the last before it. I think it right here is after these guys jog here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So what's this first clip right here, Sharpe, to kind of set it up?
Yeah, I think, look, it's the second half of the game. I believe at this point it's 1-1. So we're obviously, we've scored just before half time. We're back in the game. Obviously we're away from home. So Austin are pushing the fact of the matter. But yeah, you can just see it here. Obviously they're in possession of the ball. Adam's in a good starting connected position with our back four at the moment. You can just play it, Mikey. But again, we talked a lot during the week about, high crossing positions. They like the long diagonal switches, but these moments, as you can see or saw from our previous clips on the training, these little types of actions here where, the starting position becomes important on contact of the crosser, scanning, obviously seeing what's in the box, and then finding the position you want to on contact from the striker or the players in green in the box. Again in here.
Yeah, I want to go back to right here, because one of the things that really impresses me here, Adam, is regards to the fact that like a lot of young over eager in this scenario as this ball all of a sudden right here. This spot right here, when this ball is sent right here, I think a lot of young goalkeepers would be eager in that scenario, and they would not. But your depth drop right there just prevented any sort of scoring opportunity, in my opinion. Right there, and because of that, your track was so great. So far on the recovery right here, I mean, you're just in a good position. They got nothing. So
yeah, I mean, we talked about it a lot, and you could see it in the 2 goals and Sharpe talked about was stopping on contact, and no matter where you're at is just stop and settle, and that's the spot you'll be in, and that's the best spot really, because if you try to move into the perfect spot, and you get caught moving, it's not going to help you make saves in those areas, especially how close they can get, and really it's just trusting the spot and just stopping and trusting your reactions.
Yeah. Sharpe, anything you want to add here?
No, Adam's right. Again, obviously the 2 goals aren't on here, but they come from similar scenarios. And, every young goalkeeper or every goalkeeper, even experienced, is going to want to always try and find the perfect spot. Does it exist, or is it a myth? Obviously, 90% of goalkeeping is positioning. But again, finding good starting positions to allow yourself to scan and see what's around you, and what does your body shape look like on crossing contact? Are you square? Where is the ball? Are you open a little bit to see are they got options of a cutback across, a shot? Are you taking away more than one option? All the things that we talk about in our style of play, I think it's important.
And this is, I think, one thing that I want to stress to any young goalkeepers out there is that it's really, really important that you don't just watch final actions and you don't just watch moments before, but you try to find plays where the shot might have been off frame or ball was cleared or anything like that, because you might find that you're going to learn more from those than just goal scoring, shot stopping opportunities. And I think just more young goalkeepers need to do that. All right, what's this next action here?
Very similar. Again, you can see that they've gone to their left back. Again, looking for longer balls. If you freeze it right here, again, we're just thinking about our starting positions, scanning, seeing what's coming in the box. What are we taking away? Are we taking away the cross behind the centre backs? Do we have the back post covered if he dinks it? Are we in a good enough spot if he gets around our left back there for the shot? But again, just being prepared for one, not just one, but for 2 or 3 options of what the ball carrier is able to give us.
And I'm looking here. So then all of a sudden the ball's played in. And again, it's all about small movements, micro movements, right, Adam? It's like, it's not making big grandiose gestures. It's about just simple.
Yes.
Simple
and we talked about on the plane ride back was it's a lot of less is more when you're moving around in those tight situations, especially as the ball moves quicker and the players get faster, and it's a lot of the mentality of less is more, and really that'll just help you be settled on contact and get into those good spots.
I think Sharpe, one of the things I think I see, especially, with younger goalkeepers and college goalkeepers, et cetera, is that they know less is more, but they think I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough to affect the game. So how do we instill that as coaches, share that information in a way so they recognize that they are doing enough? They are doing what they need to.
And that is the $1 million question, Mikey, to be honest with you. That you just asked a question there that it's not the easiest to answer, because even this week, for example, we've spoken a lot about, obviously, the Galaxy is our opponent tomorrow night, but we being the goalkeepers, find ourselves in positions against them where we feel like they have a lot of time. Therefore, we have a lot of time to think, to overthink, adjust. No, I've got to readjust again. No, I've got to come back to where I originally started from. And this is the battle that Adam and I have had all week with these little moments too, is when you feel like you have time, your mind is going a million miles an hour. I have to go left. I have to go right. I have to step up. I have to drop. Do I have to stand up? Should I load my legs? What does it look like? What's my hand shape at? You know, am I high? Am I low? Am I in between? But I think that, you know, obviously the concept of less is more. The biggest word that we use is trying to be patient and trust yourself within that time where you feel like you have more time to do something. You know, we spoke this week, Adam and I spoke this week or last week after the Austin game about maybe not making the decision to come for crosses too quickly, just holding a little bit longer, just trusting your starting position a little bit longer before you make the decision to come. You know, again, the ball moves, the ball gets crossed in, you've had you scan, you realize that the Austin player is going to meet it. You start your back pedal, you find your space. As that ball's about to be headed, you know what? I can get one more movement in. And that one more movement just kills us because it comes off their head and gone, which obviously we discussed with the second and third goal. Whereas ball comes in, he's about to go up and head it or off his foot or whatever it is. Stop then. Stop, settle, bang, hand shape, body shape. There's no extra thought then to, I've got to have one more step and I get caught leaning, shifting, moving, whatever it looks like. So I think for me, you know, we use the word patience a lot. Be patient, patient in the moment, timing of the movement into the final action, timing of the decel movement into the final action. Do I have more time, less time? But again, the $1 million question, Mikey, you have just asked. How do you train that? How do you find that? I think it's reps. If I'm being honest with you, it's reps. It's instilling the instinctual settle time. And I think the biggest part is seeing it. You have to see it in games. We can rep it all we want in training, you know, and in goalkeeper training sometimes, and I know we talked about this before, is difficult with numbers. You have blow up dummies, you have a couple of extra goalkeepers running off the sides, but you need to see these moments more in live scenarios where, you know, Adam on the third goal has a good scan. He has one scan, he has two scans, and then the boy that ends up scoring goes behind our centre back. And he's so worried about the guy going to the near post that he loses the sight of the guy that's now gone behind our centre back. And all of a sudden he pops out at the last second and he wants one more movement to get beyond him. And that one more movement just hurts him in the final action. You know, so it's these moments. It's seeing it live with pressure, obviously on game day, and then live during training week where, you know, obviously there is bodies around them. They're playing 8v8s, 9v9s, 11v11s or whatever it is. And us as goalkeeper coaches trying to reenact those scenarios in our sessions so they are being comfortable with that space, the bubble of time where you have to overthink things.
Well, you know, I think you brought up such a really good point right there, Sharpe. You know, and Adam, you know, obviously you've been in a fantastic, you know, learning environment, not just, you know, at the professional level, but the youth level too. You know, coming through Colorado and everything like that. But like, I want a lot of young coaches out there to hear this, you know, at youth clubs and everything. You need to be playing all your goalkeepers that are at your club you throughout their development process. You can't just be like, well, 14 years old now, we're only playing one goalkeeper now. Like they need to be getting more reps, because otherwise they're never being exposed to those pictures and they're never experiencing it viscerally. And then when you expect them to come in because so-and-so gets injured and they can't perform, you know, you freak out and say, oh, we need to find another goalkeeper. Well, you might have had the goalkeeper here. They've just never gotten the opportunities. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that. Okay, let's check out this action here. So what's going on here?
Yeah, I think it pops out. Defensive action. Boys clear it. They make a tackle here. Adder's got to adjust. Again, for me, if you go back to just before he crosses the ball at that point there of contact.
Right here?
Yeah, keep going, and freeze. Adam's in a position there to probably cut the near post off if that ball goes in behind the centre back. And I think it's Zardes running across the near post there. to close that bit of space. I think his body's in a wonderful shape. He's also open enough that if he decides to dink it back post, as contract the ball well and get settled. And he's also in a spot where, like you see here, if he does cut it back to that penalty spot area, he can open up and think about protecting the goal. And again, you make the point maybe 10 minutes ago about actions that don't necessarily always end up on frame or on target. We look at a lot of them that don't end up on frame or on target just to look at our positioning, especially in crosses and cutback moments, because you don't see a whole lot of them during games. But again, this one misses a target if I remember correctly. But Adam is nice and settled. He settled in a higher position, which he liked because he wasn't trying to get all the way back to the line on contact. And he felt in the moment he had a good line of sight down the ball. He got them the line quite well and had a good portion of the goal covered if he struck it on target.
One of the things I'm just thinking about this here, Adam, is that based on what I'm seeing here, and obviously you scouted it and you prepared for it all week, but there's so many different patterns and themes that are consistent based on the way that Austin plays. Does that make you feel more comfortable when you're like, oh, I kind of have an idea of how this might play out if I just go about it this way?
Yeah, I think it's just simplifying things and like we said, the overthinking piece is obviously big in that. If you just simplify it and maybe say one or two things that I'm gonna focus on in these areas, at least for me, it helps me. And in these areas, it was stopping on contact. And in that clip you could see, I didn't want to drop all the way back, showing that I would be moving probably on contact if I did, and that I just turned in, settled, and then I felt like I was in a good spot if you did hit on contact. But I feel like the biggest thing is just simplifying things and kind of clearing your mind, because you've prepared for all those things, and just trusting your instinct.
Man, I swear, Sharpe, it feels like, it's like deja vu every single time watching their actions when they get into the final third. It seems very, 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 very consistent. Am I crazy or?
No, look, very, very well rehearsed team, and obviously, that they lost Josh, the week before we played them, so their system is going to be very similar. I'm sure Davey didn't want to change a whole lot. Davey, I know. But again, if you go back to the crossing action here, Mikey, just before he knocks the ball in, you'll see the position that Adam gets into. Obviously, it's a quick throw from them. Ball's gone out. You can see on the scoreboard up there. And if you freeze it just when he turns the corner, keep going, keep going, keep going. And now, at this point for us, we're 1-1. I believe this is the 74th, 5th minute, somewhere in this space. Right after this action, literally 2 minutes later, we go 2-1 up. And you talk about big moments in games. But again, a central crossing area for Austin. I feel Adam's in a wonderful spot here, whether it's a slip ball through, he's got a 3 or 4 angles covered of a cross, a ball around the back, or a shot, whatever comes from the scenario. But again, you watch, he tracks the ball very, very well as it goes across, finds himself in a wonderful position as it goes. Settles there, settles on contact. So obviously, again, giving himself an option if the boy just strikes it on goal, and or if he lays it back to, I believe that's Diego Rubio in that little space there. But, without going away from it, Mikey, if you think back into the video previously in the training session, we do a little bit of a quarter turn off the post and just protecting the 4-yard goal and the half the goal. But this is exactly it. It's a short movement back inside on the knockdown, turns in, settles, hands in a good spot, bang, and makes the save. It's a very, very good save. It's a critical save at a critical moment. If they score, it obviously shifts it for the last 15 minutes. But, again, he's up. He's prepared for the second ball there. Reggie goes to clear the ball. But, again, everything that we'd worked on during the week, the short actions, the sharp actions, the body shape, the hand shape, the settled on contact. Again, and it's probably overshadowed by the fact that we concede 2 late goals. But if you go back to this, if we win the game 2-1, you probably look at this moment and go, wow, massive moment from Adam, because we score right after this.
No, and that's a great point there, Sharpe. And as we start wrapping up, Adam, I do want to say that, like, I know you said that you love learning from the mistakes and the goals getting scored and everything like that, but there's also great learning in regards to the pride and the the appreciation of when things do go smoothly and they are successful from all that hard work, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's taken everything in and into account, and obviously, I think for me, when you see the ball go in the back of the net, you want to focus on it even more. But really, you can see. Luckily, you can watch film and all the training sessions back, and seeing all those things, and then you have to take from the good things, because you want to replicate those things and keep doing those, and see what is working. But yeah, it's taken really everything in, and the mistakes, the successes, and kind of all bringing it in, and continuing to do that.
Well, I mean, this has been awesome, guys. I mean, first off, shout out to you, Sharpe, for sharing not only the session designs, but also these match actions, because I think it helps to really paint the picture for all of those. And for those of you guys who've just been listening to the audio while you've been on the elliptical or, driving or anything like that, definitely make sure that you watch the vodcast of this too, because I think it's going to really help, bring a little more color to the whole conversation. As we start wrapping up, I want to ask you guys both from the player standpoint and a coach's standpoint. Sharpe, if you're a young coach and let's say you're a college coach and you've got a goalkeeper that's going to be making their first college start, like what advice do you give to that coach on how to approach it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is don't go changing anything. Don't get away from their comfort. I mean, goalkeepers are very routine. Adam, he just said it. Zach's very routine. Tim Howard, very routine. Will Yarbrough, very routine. All the guys that we've had here who are super successful, big career ahead of him. It's all come from, the ebbs and flows of me as a coach, putting pressure on them on a daily basis, pressure within the sessions, the session design, the execution from the goalkeepers. But I think too, we can overthink it as coaches at times to try and do too much for that person making their debut, whether it's college, whether it's, first team football, whether it's the twos, whatever it looks like, to feed too much information into them too quickly. But trust that you as a coach, I as a coach, have got them through the process leading into that debut. Obviously, they're making their debut. They're starting that match because they are doing something that is right. They fit the profile. They fit the style of play. They develop nicely. They're ready to rock and roll. Keep trusting yourself as a coach that pathway you have chosen for that individual will continue along that route that week leading into that first game. I think that so many times I talk to guys, in the situation where they've had a young goalkeeper who's going to start and I've fed him too much information, or I've overdone it this week, or we did too many reps because they want an extra one and an extra one and an extra one where, 2 or 3 reps, good, done, brilliant, out, and finish on a high. Sometimes too with Adam, I will purposely cut Adam off after he's had an action that he didn't like. And he's like, one more, nope, you got to go home and think about it for the night. And it's my way of getting his oil burning a little bit for the next day, rather than finishing on a wonderful action every single day, because that is not the reality of it. Adam, last 2 actions against Austin were picking the ball at the back of the net. 20 minutes after the flight takes off, he's sitting next to me in the seat going, let's watch the video. You know what I'm saying? So Adam said it yesterday, ball's flying past us. It's not a great feeling, but it's a great feeling because we can learn from it, and then again, 2 hours after the training session, the guys are all sharing video on our text messaging thread of what they're doing well, what they're not doing well. So it is finding that ebb and flow between, what is too much and what is enough and what is not enough for the guys prior to that first start.
I love it. I love it, man. Adam, from a player standpoint, anything you'd want to share with this young goalkeeper?
And I would say, like Sharpe said, just keep it the same. Simplifying everything and having a clear mind, trusting yourself. But like I said before, you're there for a reason, and it's to be you and not someone else. And I feel like a lot of people go into high pressure scenarios trying to be a perfect self, and that's really not obtainable. And for me, it's you have to expect going in that and trust that your preparation and all those things are correct, and it's really just going in to be you. and no one else, because you're there for a reason, and just trusting that, and just simplifying everything.
I love that, man. I mean, if you're there, if you're playing, you're there for a reason. I mean, and I think that just sharing that information with somebody is just so valuable. All right, guys, it's Halloween. Let's get out of here. Let's go eat some candy. I don't know if you're allowed to eat candy during the season. I don't know how it works out there. I don't know what the nutritionists over at Colorado Rapids allow you to do. Guys, obviously, if you want to reach out to us, it's contact at insidethe18media.com if you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion, or at Goalkeeper Podcast on the Union app. For more info on the Union app, go to uniongk.com, or you can download the Union GK community on Apple or Google Play stores. Shout out to the Colorado Rapids for recommending this topic. Wow, how profound of a club to suggest something. So not only is everybody in the coaching staff working on all cylinders, but also in the communication staff. So thanks for that. Best of luck tomorrow, guys. I'm excited to see what happens. And obviously, congratulations on just a really good season overall. So that's all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.